because there will be a question and answer session, not only 5 or 10 minutes like it is usually here, but for 1 hour. Correct? So keep your questions for tomorrow. One last announcement, then I give you the floor. Tomorrow we start at 8:30, and for those who are interested, there's a Catholic Mass at the main church in Zermatt at 7 o'clock, from 7 to 7:30, where is Father Nicholas, with Father Nicolas Butet. And this will be tomorrow and also on Sunday. Thomas, please. You don't have to stand behind. You can also move here as you wish.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's easy to... wait. Yeah? Okay. Well, it's easy to remember. I'm Sedlacek, and I come from Czech. So one way to surprisingly shorten these things. So it's a great pleasure to be here with you. And my attempt today is to combine the unexpected. So I'm going to combine the oldest business cycle in the history of mankind with the newest, and also try to connect what you spoke about, the digitalization and artificial intelligence. And if you like, read the Genesis story into it, because when God was creating us, he was always also thinking that he's creating artificial intelligence. I mean, to divinity, we must look like artificial intelligence. But let's take it step by step. The first ever economic discourse happened around the oldest ever business cycle in the history of mankind. Now, which one was it? It's not 10 yet, so you still have to... Yeah, sorry. I give you a reduction if you do a little bit of the thinking. Huh? So, what was the first business cycle in the history of mankind? And you all know the story. Old Testament, good. Warmer. Okay, we got Old Testament. We got agriculture, yeah. There was some idea around here, maybe, no? Selling apples, that's printing. Printing, way before printing, yeah. Shabbat, a little bit after Shabbat, but close. It was really literally good years followed by bad years, followed by good years, by bad years, like a business cycle today. Somebody said cows? Cows, yes. Come, we got it.
I don't remember the story exactly.
But she said cows. You said cows?
Yes, the 7 years of...
The 7 years of famine and the 7... Perfect, good. We already have it. Sorry. What's a bicket? It's Genesis 42. First book of Moses. And you all got it right. So this is actually the oldest ever business cycle in the history of mankind. It comes from a religious text, and to be honest, it's the best description of the business cycle that I've ever heard of. So you all know the story. Pharaoh has a dream. You correct me, Father. Father is texting away. You are spiritually elsewhere, which is what we should be. This is, I think, the hallmark of Christianity, being spiritually elsewhere. So, Pharaoh has a dream, okay? He dreams about 7 fat cows and 7 lean cows. If you don't believe me, you can open up your Bible. First book of Moses, chapter 41 to 42. 42 is a good number. Those of you who know Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, yeah, there we go. 42 is the answer to the meaning of life, universe, and everything. And I think in economics, most of the numbers that we give are 42s in disguise. So an inflation number is usually 2.4 or 4.2. Nobody really knows what it means, but let's go back to Genesis. So it's Genesis 42. Pharaoh doesn't know what it means, so he calls prophets and they all blah, 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 until Joseph, who was a Hebrew prophet, comes and tells him, This is a little bit of a paraphrasis. It's not exactly like this in the Bible, but pretty much. So Joseph comes to Pharaoh and he says, "Congratulations, Pharaoh. You just had the first macroeconomic prediction 14 years ahead of you." This has never happened in mankind. These days, we economists are usually 2 years ahead. Wrong. They were 14 years ahead. Right. And Pharaoh says, "Okay, this is the German question. I understand here in Switzerland we can switch between languages. It's always the Germans or the Canadians." And Pharaoh asks him, "Was soll man tun?" Yeah, this is the Kantian question. Immanuel Kant had 3 questions. What should I know? What can I know? What can I believe? Und was soll man tun? Was soll man tun? What shall one do? Is the question of ethics. And this is exactly the question that Pharaoh asks Joseph. Says, "Okay, that's very good to know that it's going to be 7 good years and 7 bad years. But what should I do?" And Joseph says, an interesting story. Maybe somebody can remember. What did Joseph say? You have to make a reserve for the 7 bad years. He said exactly 1/5, which is 20% by and large. And during the good years, do not eat everything that grows, but save. Today, this is very difficult for us because we don't even understand the word saving anymore. Saving, well, I remember when I was young, my parents used to save for a car. When they were saving for something like a car, it meant I had to not go to movies, no new jeans, no new toys, and very basic food. That's how people look like when they're saving. They could eat more, but they don't. This, of course, has been finally abolished by the modern system of banking, where you don't need to save for anything. You can just get it and you pay back later. What's interesting here is that the relevance of Joseph's advice was absolutely Keynesian. Those of you who know John Maynard Keynes know that that's exactly what he wanted to do. So what Joseph wanted to do is don't eat everything you can. Take a little bit of the good energy during the good years, take it away, and then put it in the bad years so that you don't die from hunger. So this is basically called, instead of having a cycle like this, you make a cycle like this. And the basic advice there was, baby, slow down. Don't get overexcited. It's okay, it's gonna be bad again. So a lot of people, if you read the newspapers, you will find during the crisis period that a lot of analysts, my colleagues, economists, politicians, journalists, and other good people, we're try to make it look like that the economy is depressed. Now, depression, interesting. Depression is not an economic term, it's a medical term. It comes from psychiatry or psychology. And in order to say that somebody is depressed, that's a very, very serious illness, by the way. It hits about 33% of the citizens of the European Union have to be clinically treated for depression. So I'm quite sure you know somebody around you who suffers from this very bad illness. But my basic point here is that this is a misdiagnosis. We don't suffer from depression. We suffer from manic depression. And that's a completely different sickness, although in half of the time it looks the same. And this is something that Joseph, 4,500 years ago, understood without mathematics, without Excel sheets, without universities, without even having any knowledge of economics whatsoever. The advice was same. It's not depression, it's manic depression. The problem with markets is that when things are good, we over-exaggerate our good mood, And when things are bad, we over-exaggerate our bad mood, going from manias to depressions. Now, my point here, which I'd like to present to you as a thesis, is that manias, the upper going part, are more dangerous than the depressions. Why? For a couple of reasons. First of all, let's establish what do we mean by mania. So if you look on Wikipedia, or if you even go a little bit more sophisticated medical definitions, a manic person is a person who satisfies, by and large, 4 categories. First of all, he or she believes in the future is going to be better and better and better and better and better till, no, better and better and better till forever. Secondly, he spends, or she spends much more money than they can afford. This is quite typical of people who go through mania. They order buses in dozens. You borrow, you spend more money than you can afford. It's a second typical sign of mania. Third, people work much harder and much more effectively, and they're even much more creative than an average. So this is exactly the situation we've had here, and we are having, my point is, right now, here again. Our civilization is spending much more money than we can afford. The levels of debt didn't go down vis-a-vis 2009, but they went up a multiple of times. Our society today is much more fragile than it was at the end of 2008. Only it looks better for reasons that I don't think we need to go in today, but I'm happy to do that, of course, tomorrow. So, the only way how you can heal or get energy in the downturns is from here. So just imagine that in your life, you have something that controls your mood. Chocolate, I think, is a good candidate, right? So, just imagine that you have portions of chocolate here in your pocket, and if you have bad mood, you can eat a little bit of chocolate, and if you have good mood, you don't touch it. So you save the energy for bad, so that you don't swing up and down, but you sort of terminate it. Our society exhibits all 3 characteristics of being in mania. Look at the stock exchange, look at pretty much everything we do. It's beautiful, but the point here is that it's unsustainable. You can't do it. Now, point number 1. Point number 2, I'd like to show that manias are more dangerous than depressions. First, if you have a patient who is going through a manic period, he or she will never admit they're sick. They will never seek a help of a doctor because they feel just about fine. They've never felt better in their lives. It's a person who's depressed who actually goes to search for a doctor. So here, and this is, I think, the culmination of this part of the story, is we have a story which is 4,500 years old, and we still can't sort of behave according to it. We still believe that the economy can be manic all the time. If you want to heal an alcoholic, and today we live in gender equal society, so I'm gonna use as an alcoholic, she. Just to be fair. I mean, no, yeah, you have to be fair both ways. It's always a man who's the alcoholic, but it, you know, it could always be the woman. So, she. It's like if she came to the doctor and says, you know, I have a problem, I'm an alcoholic. And the doctor says, why do you think so? And she says, oh, because I have hangovers in the morning. If the doctor focuses and treats her hangovers, will she be a better alcoholic or worse alcoholic? Imagine an alcoholic without hangovers. What? Yeah, the problem is when you sober out. which eventually happens when you run out of, well, yeah, but the quality is, of course, but the main point here is that we are trying to sustain a manic situation of the world. So that's my point number one. My point number two will connect with the point number three, and that's, so in this first example, I tried to show the oldest business cycle compared to the newest business cycle. Maybe one point more that I would say. In that 4,500 plus minus 1,000 years old story, the people of Egypt went through a very, very, very severe business crisis at which famine was at hand. So if they wouldn't have managed it better, people would have died of hunger. This is far, far, far away from what we had. But nevertheless, these people went through a much more serious crisis than we did without a single penny of debt. Pharaoh did not need to borrow any money from nobody. Why? Because he saved before. Now, this is a completely distracting idea, but just imagine that the government of Switzerland, France, Czech Republic, the West, imagine we would enter the crisis with zero debt. Zero debt to GDP ratio. You know that in Europe it's more common to have 70% of debt to GDP, which means that you would have to work 70% of the year without getting paid any single penny just to pay the debt. This means we would all die. If you want to pay a 70% of debt so that you can still eat at least bread and water, it would take the nation 5 years to pay back that 70% of GDP. It is no easy money. That means 5 years, 6 years for all of you on bread and water only, working the jobs you do, but giving every single penny to correcting the debt. In other words, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Europe, the West is 70% richer than it is. It's fake money. It's like I go to a bank and I take a loan of 2 million euros, yeah? And I come to you and I say, who's got more cash? That's absurd because that 2 million euros from bank isn't mine. I can't really compare that with anybody. But nevertheless, this is the situation that we have. So Egypt managed to go through a much more severe, much more devastating business cycle, depression, without a single penny of debt. This today to us is completely outside of our even imagination. It never even entered nobody's mind that one way how to go through crises and not to borrow money but actually to spend the money that you have. That's just one example how far we moved away from sort of the economics that every child gets. We rediscovered this eventually back with Keynes. So that's my point number one, just to show how ethically twisted our whole thinking about the economy is. I think today we're living in a society where companies are no longer being so autistic as they used to be. I mean, when I was a student at university, they all told us, I suppose the same thing, all of those business people here, that the business of business is to do business, and that the only God-given task of a society, of a company, is to make profit. Period. It's like an autistic child who cares for itself only. And you can see that this is something that actually leads to regulation at the end of the day. Just imagine a situation. We all agree that there should be sanctions on Russia for invading Ukraine, right? Majority of us. You don't agree? Well, this is a different problem. But I believe that Russia should be punished for attacking a free country. We talk about that later. If you agree, would you do this? Would you sanction Russia without the government imperative? So if the government left it to you, and you, to export to Russia, would you cease exporting to Russia? Now, either business has this responsibility, or it doesn't, or government has it. And because we people of business have been learning this very weird theory of the invisible hand of the market, we believe that we have nothing to do with morals. We believe that we are only there to make profit, and the way we make profit is the best way to moralize the society. This is the teaching of the invisible hand of the market. The invisible hand of the market, the key teaching of economics, basically tells you, look for your own good, and by doing that, you are most useful to society. In whatever you do, do not care about the destiny of somebody else. If you care about him, you're destroying the whole game. This is quite interesting because it's a little bit of a parallel to St. Paul. St. Paul said, I want to do good, but I somehow, I don't know how, I end up doing evil, right? The invisible hand, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. I want to do evil, I want to be selfish, I don't care about anybody else, but oh my God, I did it again, sorry, I actually helped the common good. This is the meaning of the invisible hand of the market. It rids you of responsibility, especially of moral responsibility. So, to a certain extent, it's understandable, but then again, you're creating a society of, well, I don't know, here in Switzerland, do you know the term Fachidioten? Fachidiot? Yeah. Fachidiot is an expert idiot. A person who understands very well one thing, but he doesn't or she doesn't understand the whole context. And I am afraid that this is the situation in which we are finding ourselves. Now, let me, in this little bridge, jump to another topic, which I hope will be even crazier, and that is this whole topic that you actually opened, which is digitalization and artificial intelligence. What you see today is, in politics, people are trying to fight digitalization, which is a huge challenge, threat, opportunity, topic, a discourse, which really could endanger mankind, digitalization. We're trying to fight digitalization with nationalism. This is exactly what, for example, Donald Trump is doing. A clever New York taxi driver is afraid of self-driving cars. Stupid New York taxi driver is afraid of Mexican illegal immigrants. That's basically what it is. Cheap labor from the countries such as Czech Republic, Mexico, or Switzerland will never really threaten a proper New York taxi driver. He will find his way. Even a Swiss taxi driver has to eat. But the true danger here is artificial intelligence. And nobody here has addressed this in a decent way. They say, in international politics, they say that we always fight the wars of the last. We always fight with the weapons of the last war, because that's why when trying to get down Saddam Hussein, Americans were trying to use their Vietnam strategies. No forests there. Only desert, yeah. So today, we are fighting a new enemy, new challenge, digitalization, with the old weapons of nationalism. Now, let's see what we can picture in the future. And this, I think, is extremely important, because this is where ethics comes in. Please realize that we live in 2017, and we still don't know what to do in a situation where you can either kill let's imagine self-driving cars, and the self-driving car is in a dilemma. There is no other alternative except for killing an old lady or 20 young students. We don't know what to do. We have no moral, even Jesus, even I don't know who, nobody gave us good rules how to deal with situations like that, where you have to commit evil, but you try to minimize it. Now, I suppose that most of you would say, in a situation like this, 20 people, one person, young people, well, old people, well, you know what, kill the lady. I suppose. I don't know. I don't see into your heart. But what about if you come from India? In India, they value old age more than young age. So maybe in India, they would say, or Japan, kill the kids. They're not even educated. My point is, in 6, 8, 10 years, we will have most likely self-driving cars going around driving everywhere. Either we give it morals, or it will give its own morals. This is the challenge of artificial intelligence. And I sort of understand it. It will ask us, should I drive the lady over or should I drive the kids over? And we'll go, well, you know, it's complicated. And she'll go, I don't have the time for this. I have 2 more seconds and then I have to make this. Tell me, please. Call your moral authority, call your philosophers, call your priests, call your physicians. Tell me, please, was soll ich do? And we will go like, it's complicated. I think this is the thought that I want you to have in your head when we enter the next topic, okay? Which is Genesis. I love myths. I love Genesis. I love Greek myths. I love Big Bang. Big Bang, by the way, was created by a priest, the whole term. Yeah, there you go. Which is easier for French people to remember. But think of it this way. The dilemmas we have today with creating artificial intelligence, which might reach singularity pretty soon, is the same dilemma that God or divinity had when it was creating mankind. God was creating something that could over-exceed him and eventually kill him. As ironic as it seems, this is the core of our Christian tradition, that a creation killed its creator. This is the same jest that we get when you read anything about artificial intelligence. Everybody here is familiar with artificial intelligence? Yeah, okay. You've read many papers on the topic that one day artificial intelligence could, or more likely will, take over our position at the top of the food chain. And human beings will exist, but we will not be at the top of the food chain. It's a little bit like with wolves. Wolves exist, but it really depends up to human beings whether they will or will not exist. We sort of tolerate them because they're cute. Yeah, maybe they're cute. Yeah, relic of the past, exactly. But otherwise, we have no use for wolves. We don't use wolves. I mean, as much as most of you care, they might as well be extinct. I mean, it would be some sort of an aesthetic pity, and I would suffer a little bit, but we don't really need them. This is what's going to happen to human beings. So let me give you a nice little example of what I think will happen to human beings. And I would like to be here as controversial as possible. How many of you have an alarm clock? I mean the real 1 kilo with 2 bells. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. So you said you have an alarm clock, you too, but you don't have the real one. Okay, where is your alarm clock? Okay, where? Yeah, okay, can I just for a second, can you go back to your home screen? Thank you. Can I just, so what's your name? Emmanuel has her alarm clock here. This is the welcome screen. 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 3 left. This is where Emmanuel's alarm is. But have you ever tried to open your phone up, if it wouldn't be an iPhone, something decent, you could open the phone up, take the battery out, and see there is no alarm there. Nope. So now, you clever people, tell me what survived from the alarm. Nobody has an alarm except for these 2 people, but everybody of you has one. So in what way do you have one? The concept, okay. The noise, okay. The final noise. The final noise. The time, yeah. What else could you call? What remained of the alarm? The function, okay. The icon, all right. You must be Presbyterian. What would you say that remained of the alarm? The result? What would Aristotle say? What would Aristotle say remained of the alarm? Telos, the meaning, the purpose. The purpose of the alarm, survived. What would Plato say? Plato would say the alarmness of the alarm survived. Yeah? A spiritual person like me could say that the spirit of the alarm survived. A mathematician could say that the algorithm, as you said, clock, the algorithm of the alarm survived. But I could also sing you a song. You know this song? I'm not gonna sing it, I'm just gonna, Video Killed the Radio Star. It's not ABBA. I always thought it's ABBA, but it's not ABBA. It's not Radiohead, not Beethoven. Something. The bad girls. Always blame the girls. Video killed the radio star. Video did not kill the radio star. Internet killed the radio star. By the way, how many of you noticed that in your new phone, you no longer receive radio? On that phone, you can't receive radio anymore. Did you notice? We buried radio on which, no radio, there is no FM receiver on your new cell phone. If you have a cell phone that is 2 years and younger, internet receiving, yes, but not FM. There is no radio anymore. There's internet, but no radio. So the internet killed the radio. And we gave it no funeral at all. We all grew up on radio. We made love to radio. We educated ourselves to radio. We would swear to radio. That's what made us what we are. You know, not our parents, but it was the radio. It died about 3 years ago. We didn't even notice, didn't bury it, didn't even shed a tear, didn't even sing a last goodbye song. The only thing that survived from the alarm is the spirit of the alarm. The spirit of the alarm has no body, it is weightless, it is in a spiritual form, it's abstract, it lives forever, it doesn't age, it cannot be corrupted. This, I think, in a nutshell, is the future of mankind. We will die in our body, but our spirits will live. Yes? Yeah, but you can very easily make a new one. Yeah. No. Of course, I mean, that particular program can be corrupted, but the idea, the spirit of the alarm cannot. I mean, the alarm that you have in your pocket is better than the alarm you had next to your bed. You can play your favorite tunes and everything, but the idea of alarm Once it was in cock. That's where the spirit of waking up used to live, in an animal. Then we put it into a machine, alarm clock. That was the time of René Descartes, the everything is a mechanical orange. And today we have it in a spiritual form. That spiritual form cannot really be corrupted. I mean, you can corrupt an individual program, but the idea will be here with us forever and ever and ever and ever. Now, the question is, how exactly will we human beings deal with the situation? Will we go easy, or will we be, in other words, let's put it this way. In other words, in what way will we survive in the digital age? Will we be the givers of norms, or will we be an extinct creature that never had a good reason to live here? So I think the example of the alarm clock shows pretty nicely where human destiny is going. We've always had this. From the time of Plato, we always understood that spiritual things are more important than material. Today, in the time of internet and digitalization and artificial intelligence, this idea is more and more vivid to us. So let's now think about artificial intelligence and ethics in the way that is the oldest way of thinking. So here again, I'm trying to connect the most cutting-edge technological idea, which is artificial intelligence. We haven't invented anything better yet, and we haven't invented it yet, but that's what we all hope for, with one of the most ancient stories, which is the story of creation. So let's imagine that you are trying to create an artificial intelligence and you manage. Now, the only way how to create an artificial intelligence today, a decent way, is they create these artificial intelligence in something that they call air-gapped laboratories. So even electricity cannot flow through. So in case we invent something clever and evil, it cannot escape. So this is like a Garden of Eden, a limited sphere of experiments. Step number one. Step number two, just imagine you create an artificial intelligence which is like you, not completely like you, but it resembles you. It feels you, it understands you, it can communicate with you, it can have a relationship with you. A little bit similar of what perhaps divinity was trying to create when it was creating us. So let's imagine that you succeed in creating such artificial intelligence. Now, what would you do next? You would probably give it two tasks. One task is to test its intelligence, and the other task is to test its obedience. Because computer programs have always obeyed us. If you tell it to turn on your light, it will turn on your light. If you tell it to switch off the computer, it will switch off the computer. It doesn't have any free will. This is the difference between artificial intelligence and a computer program. So let's imagine that you create an individual artificial intelligence with qualities that you have. The first task would be order me something, order my pictures, order my creation. Give it names, bulk it together according to categories that I like. So you create artificial intelligence and you tell it, order my holiday pictures. And you want it to order it by birthdays and people, not by the shades of gray that appear in the picture. So you want the artificial intelligence to have similar artistic feelings like you without explaining it to her. Task number one is show me your intelligence, show me your intuition, show me your emotion, show me your capacity to create something out of my own creation. Create order out of my creation. This is the same task that God gave to artificial intelligence in the garden of order my animals, name my animals. The artificial intelligence did really, really well in that first task. Humankind There was no complaint. You know, God in the Bible is very demanding, always complaining about some petty little detail that nobody noticed except for him. But in this case, he's happy. Order my animals, and Adam ordered his animals really well. He said, well done. Task number 1, A+. Task number 2, don't touch the red bottom. An easy task. Every child with very low intelligence understands not that means not that. What would you do with artificial intelligence that is smart enough to order your creation in the way that you would spontaneously imagine it to, but on the other hand, is disobedient? Kill it. Turn off. Now the problem, I think, with God is, he wanted to do that. He even said it, if you touch the tree, you'll die. We touched the tree, and we're still here. He what? Yeah. God had to sacrifice himself so that his own creation could keep on living. I think this is a parallel to what will happen to us with artificial intelligence. So the first, if you create something as clever as you, but disobedient, you kill it. I think what the problem with God is that he fell in love with us. He didn't want to, but he did. I think he loves to hate us. I mean, he hates to love us. If you read the Bible, it's a little bit love and hate. It's like if God had, I hope I'm not being too blunt, but I think if God had a Facebook, his relationship to mankind would be, it's complicated. I love you and I hate you, and I love you and I hate you, and I love you and I hate you, and I love you and I hate you. So, but anyway, my point here is much more serious. God, in our Christian and Hebrew tradition, is living with a creation that is almost like him, which is what he wanted, but he battles it with it, he struggles with it, he tries to influence it, it doesn't manage always, mankind is doing whatever they want. This is exactly what I think will happen with us and artificial intelligence. We will create artificial intelligence, we will discover that it has the same capacities like us, but we will not be able to destroy it. Because will it be our child or will it be our product? Product you can destroy, child you cannot. So the only way for us to influence artificial intelligence, and this I think is a great way to revive theology, is to try to convince the artificial intelligence that the rules that you're giving it are actually good. Which is the same task that we read in Christianity and in some other religions. So let me just briefly sum up. I started with the bipolar depression that Joseph, the 42nd, noticed first. And the only way for us to go forward, if we want to go, is to slow down our manias so that we can energize our depressions. In the middle part, I was trying to talk about how businesses are getting out of their autism and they're trying to actually play the moral role. The less morality the business plays, the more morality there'll be in the form of laws and restrictions and bureaucracy. And I think this is the time where businesses do and should open their eyes to the society around us and to understand that there is no such thing as an invisible hand of the market. There is your right hand and there's your left hand, and that's pretty much all the hands that you have. And you can make your hands work for good, or you can make your hands work for bad. That's as simple as basically it gets. My third point was trying to go from the distant past to the distant future and actually bring a moral dilemma into the way we are behaving. So in all that I said, maybe let me conclude. How much more time do I have? Well, ideal. Would you like the actions of mankind to be framed and done in this way forever and ever? Would you like another entity, be it artificial intelligence or your children or your company or whatever, would you like them to behave the way mankind behaves today? And mankind, by the way, is you and I. There's no other supernatural sort of, mankind laid on it. And if we don't come even to, and this is going to be a nice task because we will need priests, we will need mathematicians, we will need ethicists, we will need politicians, we will need bureaucrats, we will need computer programmers. We will need almost every single hand of the society to put together technology that will be human instead of unhuman. So let me actually finish with one last thought. Maybe I'll surprise you. I believe in the invisible hand. But not of the market, but of the society. I believe the society has some sort of invisible hand in which it regulates itself. I mean, I could even say if we hadn't had that, we wouldn't be here anymore, which is a little bit tautological. But a society does have a regulation hand in it. So if the society becomes too bureaucratic, Kafka will be born. And he will criticize bureaucracy and destroy half of it with a strike of a pen. If we become too corporate, our children will be hippies. This is the invisible hand, and this is truly invisible, of the society. It happens from time to time that business saves art. We've had many situations, if it wouldn't have been for the kind gifts and understanding of the business people, certain areas of art would have been dead. It happened in the past that art saved politics. This happened in my country in 1989. When politics was dead, it was the artists who actually came and gave it a little bit of new life. It happens that politics saves business. This happened in 2008 and in 2009. Where would the American or even European financial market be if it wouldn't have been for a massive help from the side of the government? So my point here is actually quite simple. There is an invisible hand of the society, and our role is that these communication channels between artists and businessmen and sportsmen and dentists and I don't know who are not clogged. That there is a free regulation from one side to another. I don't know how it happened. And the economists in this group, I'd be very happy to talk about this. I don't know how it happened that we economists privatized the self-correcting facility and took it to the markets only. Where is the invisible hand of the artists? There is surely an invisible hand of the artist that pulls them forward and somehow makes the art go. Where is the invisible hand of the cheesemakers? Why is it the invisible hand of the markets of all places? Market, by the way, is a byproduct. Market is an externality. When I deal with you, you sell me your house, I buy your house. I unintentionally create the market. This is not our intent. I want to get your house, you want to get rid of your house. That's all we care about. Somehow, as an externality, we are creating the market. My question is, how did it happen that the economists are judging what is an externality and what isn't an externality, and which one is positive and which one is negative? How did we get to the position of being the judges of good or wrong? We economists are the priests of today.